the single most important component to people's portfolio over a long period of time is the fact that they don't take care of their health.
Health is the new wealth. It really, truly is. I mean, it's the greatest gift you can give yourself and the people that you love. I mean, there's one of my favorite sayings is the man or woman who has their health has 1,000 dreams, and the man or woman does not has but one. And anybody who's ever been there, it is so true. Nothing else matters. Your portfolio doesn't matter anymore. Longevity and Bitcoin, the two go hand in hand.
All right, Peter, I thought a great place to start this conversation is everyone who wants to build a great portfolio, who wants to invest for a long period of time, whether it's in Bitcoin, stocks, real estate, whatever, an under-discussed point is that they got to be around for a long time. Warren Buffett is only Warren Buffett because he's 90 years old and he's been compounding for 80 years. I think he started when he was 10, 11 years old, and he's now 90. And so when you think about that, a huge part of your investment portfolio is actually being healthy enough to continue investing for decades to come. You've written this book on longevity, so you're the perfect person. You're a great investor, you're a great entrepreneur, and now you've become obsessed with health and have all these great insights. And so I thought a great place to start is just as you set out to figure out this longevity thing, how much of it is normal advice that you've gotten and you just have to stay disciplined and kind of stick to it versus everything we learned is wrong and the food pyramid's upside down and there's this big contrarian approach?
It's both. And let me just start off by agreeing with you that I think the most extraordinary time ever in human history is ahead of us. The greatest growth of capital formation, of companies, of value creation. We're in the middle of a roaring 20s right now. And I think for me, I'm 63 now, I have 13-year-old boys. I'm looking at what the next 63 years looks like. And it's going to be us becoming a multiplanetary species. There's so much excitement from the tech side, but it's going to be a huge amount of wealth created. We're going to create more wealth in the next 10 years than we have in the entire past century, just because technology is moving so rapidly. The book looks at, there are fundamentals. I wrote this book, Pomp, because I wanted people to have a very clear, very usable book on what I can do right now and where the technology is going. I talk about something called longevity mindset. And a longevity mindset is the notion that if you believe we're in the midst of this health span revolution where technology is going to enable us to live an extra 20 or 30 healthy years, right? So what Warren Buffett has done is not uncommon. It's going to become part of our expectation that you're making it through the 90s, over 100, who knows how far we'll go. That if you love life and you love what you're doing, you're going to want to have as long a health span, not necessarily lifespan. Lifespan is how long your heart's ticking, but how long you're healthy and vital to enjoy life. And longevity mindset is understanding this is coming and doing what it takes today to intercept those breakthroughs that are happening our way.
What I want to talk about before we get into maybe what the solutions are or what the problems are, there's three things that I keep in the back of my head. The first is that the food pyramid, is basically upside down.
Broken.
Right? Yeah, so hey, we shouldn't eat the things that they told us to eat. The second thing is that I believe it was 40 or 50 years ago, not a single county in America had an obesity rate over 20%. Now there's not a single county in America that has an obesity rate where it isn't at least 20%. And so there's been this widespread shift. Doesn't matter about, zip code, health, wealth, education, it is just across the entire country. And then the third thing is if you get on Twitter and you type in some keywords like hospital, healthcare, name whatever, people are complaining and complaining and complaining that the healthcare system is broken. It's too expensive. They can't get good, service, et cetera. And so where do you think we went wrong? Where are the problems? Right? Again, we're trying to compound capital for decades and decades, but obviously something is wrong in the healthcare system. What are those problems?
There's a lot of problems, a lot of individual institutions to blame. The Make America Healthy Again initiative, I completely concur with that. We are feeding the majority of America sugar. And when did it become natural to feed kids Captain Crunch cereal for breakfast, right? So I grew up with that, and somewhere over the last 50 years, that was what became breakfast, and it's just all sugar. The human body never evolved to consume as much sugar as we have. 100 years ago, we would consume a couple of kilograms per year. Now it's 100 kilograms per year. Sugar was a very recent addition to the human diet. And it turns out it's one of the major cardiac inflammatory and neuroinflammatory agents. And we're just killing ourselves with the amount of sugar we're taking in. Whole plants. I mean, these are the very basic things I think we all know. But when you go through medical school today, there are like no classes on nutrition. It's like not part of it, but of course, food as medicine is one of the most important things. So in the book, I have a chapter on, longevity diet. It's not difficult. Minimize sugar, maximize whole plants. If you're sitting down at a meal, even the order in which you eat your food matters. Tonight when you're sitting down for dinner, first off, drink a glass of water first. Second thing, take a deep breath in, slow down, activate your parasympathetic system, your rest and digest system, and then eat your vegetables first, like a salad or your, broccoli or asparagus. That fiber slows down your digestive system. Eat your protein next. And then if you have room, you can eat your carbs last. When you're at a restaurant and they bring out the basket of bread and the wine, they're not doing that just to be nice because you might be hungry. They're doing that because they want to spike your blood glucose, which makes you hungrier, which makes you order more food from the restaurant. It's a slight bit of manipulation. So, what we eat, how we eat it matters. Chewing your food. We all know these things. Not sitting down in front of CNN, the Crisis News Network, and eating your food, which gets you all in a tizzy and activates your sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight, which is the worst situation to be digesting food in.
One of the things that throughout the book I took away is there's this element of like long-term thinking. Taking a deep breath, the way you eat the food, like they're all little daily habits or sequences, etc. But if you do it every single day the right way for a long period of time, you get the benefit. But if you only do it once a month, you don't really get that much benefit by eating the food in a certain order. It's the daily habit that really feeds into it.
Yeah, 100%. I added, at the very last chapter I added to the book was a chapter on routines and habits, because I realized that for me, the routines and habits I've built over the years, and it's really last 10 years I focused on this, that transform my life. It's the things that you do every day, the small things you do. When you get these habits, it keeps you from negotiating with yourself, right? So when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is have a gratitude for the day. Like, thank you for this incredible day. And I'm so excited for it. Beginning with this positive attitude, right? And kicking my butt out of bed to go and work out. And I work out, at least 5 days a week. Last year I added 10 pounds of muscle, which was my objective, which was not easy, but muscle is your longevity organ. And there are things you can do to add muscle. There are lots of reasons we can talk about there. But my day begins the night before by going to sleep on time. When you go to sleep on a routine basis, for me, it's in bed by 9:30 every night. It's not every night, but it's my objective to get there. And that sets me up for getting up because my body wakes up at like 5:30 anyway. And if I go to sleep at 9:30, that gets me my 8 hours of sleep. Listen, diet, exercise, and sleep and mindset, still one of the most extraordinary critical things.
On the sleep side, one of the things that I keep coming back to is, and people who have been listening to this podcast for a long time know, I used to sleep horribly. I became very serious about it. It frankly changed my life. I talk about it now as like it's nature's doctor. Like go see the doctor every night and just make sure you get that sleep.
Yeah.
What are you doing from a routine standpoint? Because there's people with kids, there's people who are staring at their computers and their phones and all like walk us through that whole routine that helps you set up for a good night of sleep.
Yeah. And be gentle with yourself, right? If you don't get a good night's sleep, don't blame yourself, whatever. It's like, it's an objective that you have. So, and it's different for everybody, but I lay out in the sleep chapter. First of all, the single most important thing is regularity, your brain and your routines. So for me, my rule is, listen, I'm at my Abundance360 event. I've got 600 CEOs in the audience. The party goes till 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock at night. By 9:30, I'm in bed. And it's just my promise to myself. And I set the temperature of the room down low. It's typically down at 63 degrees Fahrenheit, which helps you get a deep night, a night of great deep sleep. It's not eating food at least 2 hours beforehand. It's not exercising just before sleep. It's unfortunately no alcohol, right? I've cut out almost 100% of alcohol. I'll have maybe a half a glass of wine socially during the week. And it is, I use a Manta night mask that keeps all the light out. I also use a mouth guard that has an upper and lower guard that juts my jaw out a little bit forward, that keeps me with an open airflow, so I don't have any kind of disruptive airflow at night. There are lots of things you can do. Some people, it's hot baths, and a hot bath is a chance to dilate your outer vascular system of your skin, and that allows you to dump temperature. So the same idea as getting the room cold is taking a hot bath before going to sleep, and it allows your core temperature to actually to go down. I use an Aura ring. You know, it's I was an early investor in the company, but it gamifies sleep for me. I know I go to sleep at night and I wake up in the morning, and how was my sleep score? You know, did I get over a 90, which is my objective? Did I get an hour of deep sleep? And so all of these things we talk about in the book each of them are elements to help you maximize your sleep. And, you know, having kids, having a night shift, having, all of these things can be disruptive for sure. And there can be periods of your life where you're not having great sleep, but when you can, you should. It is waking up in the morning with a clean slate, and a positive attitude sets you up for the day.
So you go to sleep, you get this great night of sleep, you did your whole routine, ready to rock and roll, you wake up, you're refreshed. I know a lot of people from an investment standpoint, you know, Bitcoin's a 24/7 market. A lot of people getting ready for the stock market to open. They pull out that phone, they start reading the news, they're checking prices, all that kind of stuff. What are you doing when you wake up that puts you in a better spot?
Yeah. And listen, I'm guilty as well of, looking at a few things, but in the morning when I wake up, my first action is gratitude. It is really, I'm living during the most amazing time ever. I'm grateful for what I have a chance to do during the day. It's a day of infinite possibility. So just getting that mindset, that positive, optimistic, abundance mindset. I'll sit down, I'll do a meditation. I stack things. I have a red light therapy, and I'll do full body red light. I'll meditate. I will then probably do a very quick 10-minute scan of my email. Is there any emergency that came in from the night? I'll create my my top 5 items for the day that I want to accomplish. If I accomplish these 5 items today, it's a rocking day. And then I will write for an hour. So I write every morning. It's my guilty pleasure, and my mind is clearest. And that will take me from 5:30 till 7:30. And then I have my 4 days a week. I'm in the gym. Other 3 days I'm doing cardio, and then, launch into the day. So my goal is not to have my day disrupted by, texting and emails and everything. My first few hours of my day are my golden hours. They're mine. I get to use them as I want.
Now, one of the things when you talk about exercise in the book, if I remember correctly, the number that you use is 4,000 steps. There's a bunch of science that shows you have clearer thinking, you're healthier, all this different stuff. I thought that it was interesting that it was 4,000, because that's a much more approachable number than I've heard 10,000, 12,000, right? Numbers that a lot of people look and say, how the heck am I going to get that many? Whereas 4,000 seemed much easier to accomplish.
I see what I'm up to today. I'm up to 7,200. So that's good. I took my morning walk. I'll try and get to 10,000. So listen, at the end of the day, there are lots of different studies that show, different levels, like 4,000, 7,000, 10,000. You'll get data on each of these. I guarantee you 4,000 is infinitely better than none. And the challenge we have right now after going through COVID is we're sitting on our butt, as you and I are doing right this second. And I think of smoking, sitting as the new smoking. And one of the things I've started doing is I've got a stationary bike, and I've got a treadmill desk, and I'm a block off of Santa Monica's, Strand. And I will take my board meetings on my bike, on my stationary bike, unless I'm the one presenting. I'll be sitting here, just trying to keep my heart rate at 105 heartbeats per minute, which is enough to be activating my mitochondria in a zone 2 sense, but not so much that I can't have a conversation. Or I'll put on my earbuds and I'll take phone calls walking on the street. So you can, the judo move is to say, okay, be jealous of your time. And like, is this next phone call something I can take as I'm walking, or as I'm on the bike, or as I'm on a treadmill? And majority of time, the answer is yes. And so if you are, selfish in that way and say, listen, I'm going to take this one out on a walk, you can squeeze in 4,000 steps easy enough.
I don't think that is hard for most people to do. To get to the 4,000. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Yeah. Another thing that you said in the book that I thought was fascinating, daylight savings time. When they moved the clocks, hospitals report like a 24% increase in heart attacks. Today's episode is brought to you by Polkadot. Polkadot offers secure, scalable, and decentralized blockchain technology that perfectly aligns with the needs of innovative projects. It was developed by Gavin Wood, one of the co-founders of Ethereum and the creator of Solidity. Polkadot aims to build an internet where users have full control over their data and their applications. Polkadot offers tons of unique features, a shared security model, along with the new auction model and significant implementations like ASIC banking. Given these characteristics, it's easy to understand why Polkadot is gaining more and more traction in the cryptocurrency world. Some people even are talking about it as the AWS of Web3. Now, companies such as Mythical Games, Astor Network, and over 50 other independent blockchains with hundreds of applications already leverage Polkadot's technology to power their platforms. If you're looking for a reliable, scalable, and cutting-edge solution, Polkadot seems to be the top choice for industry players. Go check them out today at polkadot.com.
Heart attacks, yeah. So it's interesting. This is an annual experiment that occurs. This work is from Dr. Matthew Walker, he wrote an incredible book, Why We Sleep. He's most definitively the world's sleep expert, and the man's amazing. And if you have not read Why We Sleep, I commend it to everybody. He goes through the data about, the human species is the only species that actually shortchanges ourselves of sleep. And when I was in medical school years ago, I would pride myself on being able to get by with 5.5 hours of sleep. And, my saying was there'll be plenty of time to sleep when I'm dead. But the reality is you're getting so little sleep will kill you. It drops your immune levels. It drops your for male testosterone levels. It's an increase, like you said, getting an hour of less sleep increases ER visits for heart attacks by, 24, 25%. And you actually reduce the amount of ER visits when we get, the hour back later on. Sleep is fundamental. The way I think about it is when we were evolving on the savannas of Africa 100,000, 200,000 years ago, before we had homes, when we were open to predation, when you were sleeping, you weren't being productive, you weren't being reproductive, you weren't defending yourself. If evolution could have done away with sleep, it would have. And we need sleep. It's the foundation upon which everything else. And when people say, listen, sleep, diet, and exercise, it still is those fundamental basics. And there are tools to help you with each of those now. And they're the first, if you would, the first bridge that will get us to the second bridge of longevity, which is a lot of the therapeutics under development right now.
When you look at, again, from this like investor lens, what I find fascinating about you is you're constantly looking for the next thing, the next piece of technology, the next great company. Mm-hmm. But as a user who is interested in longevity, those two worlds are now colliding. There's a ton of technology and products, companies that are trying to help people do this. There are things that are kind of futuristic, like brain-computer interfaces, which you talk about. Then there are things that are as simple as getting quarterly blood check-ins and making sure that you're kind of on track. Yeah. How important is the futuristic stuff versus maybe the like blocking and tackling simple stuff? And the reason why I think about that is like one of my greatest fears is that you and I, we were born in the famous quote of we were born too late to discover the earth and explore the earth, but born too early to discover the stars and go explore out there. Yeah. And so how do you think about some of this like futuristic technology?
I live in this futuristic technology, right? I have two large venture funds, Bold Capital, which is investing in biotech and health tech, about 600 million, and Exponential Ventures, about 500 million, investing in AI. And so I'm seeing all of these companies constantly. And it's magical. And AI and biotech / longevity are colliding. And this next decade is a real decade of the health span revolution because of AI. We have 40 trillion cells in our body. Every cell is running between 1 billion to 2 billion chemical reactions per second. And there's no way for a human to understand what's going on, but AI can. And we're beginning to understand fundamentally what's going on. As I say in the subtitle of the book, how to slow, stop, and reverse aging. The second part of the subtitle is in not dying from something stupid. And let me mention what that second part is. If I were to ask you or anybody listening right now, are you absolutely sure that nothing is going on inside your body you need to know about? And most of us are optimists about our health. We think we're fine, but we all have friends and colleagues who we know had a pain or problem. They go to the doctor. The doctor says, listen, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you've got stage 3 or stage 4, this or that, or you've got, advanced blockage in your coronary arteries. And the thing to realize is it didn't just happen that morning, right? It's been going on for some time. And unless you look, you're not going to find out. And people say, well, I don't want to know. And I'm saying, bullshit. Of course you want to know. You want to know as early as you can when you can do something about it, because you're going to find out eventually. Do you want to find out early? Because this medicine has moved incredibly far in our ability to address almost everything. So one of the companies that Tony Robbins and I started with Bill Kapp is a company called Fountain Life. I write about it. It's one of the companies that provides this. There are others. I think Fountain Life is best personally, but we have centers in New York, our headquarters in Orlando. We have Naples and Dallas. We're opening up LA, Houston, Arizona, Miami soon. And these are 10,000 square foot centers where you go, and over the course of 4.5 hours, we upload you. We digitize you. Full body MRI, brain vasculature, and a coronary CT with an AI overlay, low dose lung CT, DEXA scan, your full genomics, your microbiome, metabolomics, all of this. And it's to answer 2 questions. Is there anything going on inside your body right now that you need to know about and take care of? And the second is what's likely to happen to you in the future, and how do we optimize you to prevent that? And we've saved hundreds and hundreds of lives. And the numbers from our first 5,000 patients are impressive. 2% of people who are seemingly healthy have a cancer they don't know about. 2.5% have an aneurysm they don't know about. 14.4% have either metabolic disease, coronary artery disease, or neurodegenerative disease. And when you find out early, there are a multitude of protocols to get you back into a state of health. So I think of not dying from something stupid as giving yourself the benefit of this kind of a fountain life upload on an annual basis. That goes along with wearing a seatbelt, wearing a helmet when you're skiing, not texting and driving, things that make sense to do.
When you think about kind of your journey here, what was the hardest thing for you to do? Right. It's like in investing, I think one of the things that the younger generation is learning, it's easy to buy. It's really hard to sell. But you don't know that until you've already bought and you go through like, oh, when do I sell? Should I have sold? I messed this up, whatever. You're now kind of,
it's also hard. It's also hard not to churn your investments. It's hard to hold on for the long run.
Exactly. Like, you tend to sell the ones that you shouldn't sell, and you tend to hold the ones that you should have sold. So for you, what has been the hardest part, and what did you do to kind of get over that?
I had to make a decision that my health was a priority. That is the fundamental first step. If you make the choice that my health is a priority for me, that I want to live an extra 20 or 30 healthy years. Right now, the average human lifespan in the United States is 78, 79. And that's your lifespan. That's how long your heart is ticking. But health span typically ends at 63. So we've got this like 16-year gap during which the last 16 years, you're not healthy. You've got, diabetes or coronary disease or, a whole slew of things. And all of these things are reversible by making the choice that your health, your life, for either yourself or your spouse or your kids, is a priority. And it's choosing to invest a certain amount of the time in the day and building those routines and those habits. And once you do, that becomes part of your identity. Listen, one of the easiest things to do in a step in that direction is, you've heard the saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So are you spending time with people who care about their health and are in good shape and have good eating habits, or not? And if you're not, maybe it's time to, shuffle the deck on your friend group, because I guarantee you, if you hang out with people where working out and eating healthy and their health is a priority, it will impact you in a very positive fashion. The flip side, if you're hanging out with people who are lazy and are eating crap, you're going to be lazy and eat crap as well. So these are small choices that you make. What you listen to, what you read. Our brains are neural nets. I talk a lot about, most people might know me from my world in tech and AI and all of these areas. Our brains, 100 billion neurons, 100 trillion synaptic connections, that everything we know, feel, hear. Our brains are neural nets. And you train your neural net, just like AI, large language models get trained by what you read, what you listen to, what's on your posters on your wall, the people you hang out with. And so choose that carefully. I also happen to think that longevity is the largest marketplace on the planet. So I'm in front of family offices, YPO groups, all kinds of high net worth individuals. And if I get into a open, honest conversation, I'll say, okay, let me ask a question. How much of your net wealth would you spend for an extra 20 or 30 healthy years of life? And at the end of the day, if they're honest about it, the majority would spend the majority of their wealth on buying those extra 20 or 30 healthy years. I mean, we spend a lot of our wealth in the last couple years of life with like these crazy efforts in the hospital, versus spending it earlier on, to get yourself in the best position, right? To get yourself in the healthiest position.
Well, and I think one of the things that I can't remember, maybe it was Being Mortal, maybe is the book that talks about how America and individualism that makes us so strong as we're kind of growing and building wealth and doing all of this is also one of our biggest detriments at the end of our life. Most other cultures, the older kind of elderly, they move in with their younger children, their children take care of them, et cetera. In America, they move into retirement homes, or they basically hold on to, live as long as you possibly can in the hospital, but you're hooked up to a bunch of tubes, and it's not really kind of the health span. Right? Yeah, it's not really the health span that you talk about.
Yeah.
Another aspect that I was surprised that was in the book is skincare. Elaborate on that.
So when you think about what is important for your longevity, I think you want to think clearly, right? You want to move well. You want to have immunity. We'll talk about that in a moment. And you want to look good. When you look at yourself in the mirror, your mind is such a powerful tool, mind over matter, that you want to look at yourself and say, hey, I'm doing pretty damn well. And so I care about skincare. I care about, how I visibly look to myself, because that's incentive and encouragement to keep myself in the best shape I can. So, thinking clearly, moving well, looking good, I think is a important part of longevity. Is it the most important part? No. But there are products out there. I talk about one of the products I love. Full disclosure, I'm an advisor of the company because I love the founding team. There are 4 PhD women who've done incredible work, and they've identified there's something called a senescent cell. And senescent cells are cells typically will divide 50 times. It's called a Hayflick limit. And then they should have the decency to die. Sometimes they become cancer cells, and other times they become senescent cells, which are also called grouchy old men cells. They sit there on the edge of mortality, and they just pump out inflammatory factors. And so what this company called OneSkin did was they found a particular 10 amino acid sequence of peptide that kills senescent cells in the skin. And I love their product. I've been using it for multiple years. And
you should be the front of you should be the front of the ad. Like, just be like, he says he's 63, he looks 21. Use our product. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, I think skincare is one, but the other one that I have an entire section on here is dental health.
Crazy.
It's like, people, I have so much respect for taking care of my dental health right now. And I've doubled up on or tripled up on what I do there. It turns out that your teeth, we don't think about this, but your teeth and your gums are a direct entry into the bloodstream. And so cardiac health and neuro health, brain health, can be massively affected, negatively impacted by gum disease and by gum health. So I spend a lot more extra time. I wish I'd done it more when I was younger, but I do it now for sure. And I lay out the protocols. I wanted to build Longevity Guidebook in a way that you could pick it up and say, hey, let me see what's going on in dental or skin or muscle. Can I just read one thing from one thing that I know you talk about and is important, which is mindset, right? You've got mindsets for being an investor, mindsets in being an entrepreneur. And so the power of mindsets here, and so this is on page 121 here, it says, in a study of 69,744 women and 1,429 men, published in the prestigious journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, which is like the highest level, it was found that optimistic people live as much as 15% longer than pessimists. And
I believe it.
I found that, pretty damn extraordinary. And it's like, you know, I let me share one other quick story here. This is about mind over matter. And so this is one of my favorite stories illustrating mind over matter. And one of my favorite sayings also is always make your future bigger than your past, right? If you have something to look forward to, you're going to take care of yourself. You're going to be alive. You have a positive attitude in life. So as it turns out, in an extraordinary demonstration of the will to live, two of America's founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, both willed themselves to live long enough to see the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Even though the average life expectancy was only 44 years old in the early 1800s, Jefferson, who was 83 at the time, and Adams, who was 90, made it to July 4th, 1826, both dying on that exact date, the 50th anniversary of the nation they had founded.
Crazy.
It's mind. The mind is a very powerful tool.
Well, I also think that mind is like your internal force. But then one of the things that I have probably told more young people than I would like to admit is to knock off the vaping, smoking, these things that they're cultural though. And so there's like a societal thing, especially young men. I've seen like teenagers or, young 20s, hey, it's cool. Everyone else has a vape pen, type thing. And I feel like I'm my dad now telling young people like, hey, knock this off. But it is really kind of crazy how much, if you go talk to them, they're like, I don't even necessarily like, I'm not addicted to this. It's just like, that's what we all do. And so to your earlier point, like your friends, whatever, it's like the right mindset, the right people around you, and then being able to resist the societal pressure. Today's episode is brought to you by NASDAQ-listed BitDeer. They trade under the stock ticker BTDR. They're led by a seasoned management team. BitDeer is a global leader in Bitcoin mining and high-performance computing for artificial intelligence, and they are backed by technological innovation and a massive 2.5 gigawatt global power portfolio. Recently, BitDeer launched its own Bitcoin mining ASICs named the Seal Miner to target what Wall Street analysts project to be a multi-billion-dollar annual market. Their proprietary Seal Miner ASICs are redefining efficiency and performance, and they are backed by the industry's most advanced chip roadmap, with 2 more groundbreaking models set to launch in 2025. To learn more about BitDeer's cutting-edge technology and business, visit their website at bitdeer.com. That's BITDEER.com. Go check out BitDeer today.
Guess what? Be a leader. Make eating vegetables cool. Make going to the gym and working out cool. Make taking care of yourself cool. Set the trend. Stop following everybody else. Anyway, it's there's the part of the books we've just talked about is what you can do right now. This book started by people coming and saying like, what are you doing for your health? And like, I take like 75, 80 pills every day. There's an entire chapter on the meds and supplements I take, and in detail everything I take and why I take it. And I say to people, listen, this is what I do. I do quarterly blood testing through Fountain Life every quarter. I measure everything all the time. And you should decide what you want to take as meds or supplements. My rationale is there, but in consultation with your doctor. But what I get excited about isn't, the stuff I can do right now. I'm doing it, I'm sharing it. By the way, this book, I'm donating all the proceeds of this book to the XPRIZE Foundation. I'll talk about that in a minute. And I'm offering the book. If you go to longevityguidebook.com, you can get the book at cost with a bunch of other benefits. This is about getting the word out to the world. This is about putting aside the political side of it. It is about making the world healthy again. Anyway, there is so much coming down the pike, so much technology that is extraordinary. I'll give you one example. So as you know, one of the organizations I started 30 years ago, hard to believe, is the XPRIZE Foundation. We put up these large global competitions. Our first XPRIZE was a private competition for private spaceflight, offered up $10 million to the first team to build a spaceship. that can carry 3 adults up 100 kilometers, land, and do it again within 2 weeks. Over the 30 years, we've launched 30 XPRIZEs, launched a $100 million prize that I got Elon to fund to remove carbon out of the atmosphere at scale. And last year, I raised $141 million to launch a health span prize. And so this is a $101 million competition. By the way, you'll find this funny. It's $101 million because the first benefactor, Chip Wilson, the founder of Lululemon, who's donated originally 35 million. He said, "How big is Elon's prize?" That's 100 million. He goes, "Can we make it 101?" I said, "Sure, if you toss him the additional $1 million." I love that story. Anyway, so Chip's been a blessing. He's a beautiful man. And this is a $101 million cash prize with another $10 million bonus for a team that can come up with a therapeutic that if I deliver to you within 1 year or less, it can reverse your functional losses in immune, cognition, and muscle, meaning by 20 years, at least 10 years, as much as 20 years. So the goal is, can I reverse, as we get older, our muscles begin to atrophy. It's called sarcopenia. Our immune system becomes exhausted. We have neurodegeneration. Our span of memory reduces. And so the goal is, can this therapeutic reverse your muscle loss, your cognitive loss, and your immune loss by at least 10 years, as much as 20 years? We have 460 teams competing for this prize. And I've seen the technology, and it's mind-blowing. And so there is this incredible revolution coming. And I talk about the different elements in stem cells and epigenetic reprogramming. And I make that a small part of the book because it's just now becoming available. And it's about getting people excited about what's coming. It's like, you want to be in the best shape you can be in to intercept this stuff over the next decade.
I think it's a no-brainer, and it's very obvious what that direction of progress is. So even if it's starting small today, it's obviously going to get bigger, more important, et cetera. My last question for you is, I'm an investor. I'm out there buying assets. I'm looking at my portfolio value. How much is this all going to cost me? And should I just think of a certain amount of money every year as I put X dollars in my investment portfolio, I put Y dollars in my health, and those two things are going to help me compound for 40, 50, 60 years?
Yeah, I think it's a really smart question to ask. I mean, so what is an extra decade or a couple of decades of health worth for you, right? On the compounding side of the equation, it's worth a lot, right? So, I mean, your future self is going to thank you for this. A lot of the stuff I talked about in the book, diet, exercise, sleep, is effectively free. Mindset, all those things really don't cost you much of anything. The fountain life, the scanning yourself every year, if you can afford it, I think it's a moral obligation. I mean, you're driving with your eyes closed, effectively, not knowing what's going on inside. So Fountain Life, the annual membership there for the upload, but in addition to the full digital upload and the AI you get with all your data in it, you get an entire medical team for the year. You get a functional medicine longevity doctor, you get a nurse, you get a dietitian, and a health coach. And so that's $19,500 for the year for all of the upload and for the entire health team to support you for the full year, and an additional quarterly testing. Fountain's also going to be releasing a version of, so that was called the Apex program. It's releasing a version called Core, which is for companies, for company executives at $6,500. So it's going to be demonetized over time. As AI is coming in, the technologies are getting cheaper. All of these things are going to continue to bring the prices down over time. But there are lots of levels. And I talk about this in the book. There's stuff you could do for, $500 a year, $1,000 a year. It's making a decision, but the number one thing you can do is make the decision that your health is important. Get in the gym, sleep at least 7-8 hours, get rid of or minimize your sugar, right? Eat your whole plants, have a positive mindset, get a great friend group I mean, these things are all fundamental.
I really do think that there's this element of just saying to yourself, I'm a healthy person. A healthy person eats certain food. A healthy person, works out. A healthy person doesn't drink a lot. A healthy person doesn't smell. Like it's I think it's James Clear's Atomic Habits. Like kind of like your identity becomes your actions.
Yes.
It goes back to kind of your idea of mindset and the importance of that is really important. And I think that while people see a longevity book, I honestly believe that the single most important component to people's portfolio over a long period of time is the fact that they don't take care of their health. And how many people had a great run for 20 or 30 years, but imagine what they could have done if they didn't die at 55, 60, 65 years old, if they had lived till they were 90. I mean, that is compounding. That is incredible.
Yeah. Health is the new wealth. It really, truly is. I mean, it's the greatest gift you can give yourself and the people that you love. I mean, there's one of my favorite sayings is the man or woman who has their health has 1,000 dreams, and the man or woman does not has but one. And anybody who's ever been there, it is so true. Nothing else matters. Your portfolio doesn't matter anymore. Your company, it's like, oh my God, I am in such pain. The other thing, by the way, is as a producer, why do people retire? They retire because they're tired or they're in pain or they're forced to. But what would it be like if you're 70 or 80 and you've got the best Rolodex of your life? You're more excited about life. You got the best relationships. You got the best wisdom ever, and you're in the game. I mean, for me, that's, when I think of, some of the incredible entrepreneurs out there, that's like Larry Ellison. That's the game they're playing. They're at the peak of their game. And, Larry's another, incredible health and longevity aficionado.
And he's what? He's got to be in his 80s?
Yeah, he's in his late 80s. Yeah.
And,
and he's doing amazing.
Ready to rock and roll. Incredible.
I'm rocking and rolling across the board. He's created more wealth for himself in the last few years than he has like his entire lifetime. He's like playing with Elon every place, and God bless him. I love his mindset. It's got a killer attitude, but a longevity attitude on top of that. Let me share one last thing. There's a concept called longevity escape velocity, and I write about it in the book. And it's a concept that Aubrey de Grey and Ray Kurzweil talked about. And it's the notion that there is going to be a point in time that for every year that you're alive, science is going to extend your life for greater than a year. And Ray predicts we're going to reach longevity escape velocity by the end of the year 2030, like in 6 years, right? Two of the other top longevity scientists, both at Harvard Medical School, George Church and David Sinclair, as I've interviewed them, and they've been friends for many years, investors in their companies, their prediction is it's in the mid to late 2030s. Translation, it's somewhere between the next 6 to 15 years. And if that's true, if all of a sudden in the next 6 to 15 years, we are discovering the fundamental reasons why we age, how to slow it, stop it, perhaps reverse it. You want to be around for that. It's going to be an extraordinary time. At the same time that we're learning so much in the technology and science world, and we're creating more wealth than ever before. So for me, the only day more exciting than today is tomorrow. I want to see as much of it as I can get.
I'm wishing you longevity both in your life, but also in your portfolio, my friend. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Buddy. Where can we send people to find?
By the way, yeah, I was going to say longevity and Bitcoin, the two go hand in hand. Absolutely.
I think Bitcoin is teaching people to be long-term holders, and you're teaching people how to live a long time. Those two things definitely go together. What where can we send people? You mentioned a website for the book, and then where can we send people to find you?
Yeah, so please go to longevityguidebook.com. It's available there now. You'll get it basically the printing of the book and the shipping included. It's like $10 or $12 cheaper than Amazon. I'm just trying to get the book into as many hands as possible. Diamandis.com is my personal website. I'm at Peter Diamandis on Twitter and Instagram. If you're interested in Fountain Life, it's just fountainlife.com. And again, it's not for everybody, but if you can afford it, it is the greatest investment you will make. We've saved so many lives. I'm so proud of the work that we're doing there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I've learned a ton from you over the years, and it's fun to talk
my friend,
about this new book. So best of luck, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, I'm excited. Next year we'll be on when Bitcoin's at 250K. Yeah. Onward and upward.